Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar today about Priority's new release, version 23.0. I'm Nicole Lipper, a product manager here at Priority Software, and we're here today to go over the main highlights of our newest Priority ERP release that was officially released in the beginning of April. I'll also take this opportunity today to share with you some of our plans for the upcoming versions. If you would like to see all of the new features that this new release has to offer beyond what we chose to show you today, you're more than welcome to check out the official release notes on the expert site. During the webinar, you can write down your questions inside the webinar chat box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll answer your questions as we move through the presentation. At the end of the webinar, I'm going to review all of your questions and answer any new questions that weren't addressed during the session or those that I think are relevant for everyone to hear. So thank you all for being here today, and let's get started. During the presentation today, you're going to witness some of our plans for upcoming releases. It's important for you to be aware of these features, but it's also important for me to say that these are our plans for the time being, and we can't promise that any of the future features that you will hear about today will in fact be a part of a future release. So let's start with Priority Mobile. In our mobile solution, for organizations that their needs when working on mobile are different than their needs when working on the desktop, we extended the flexibility to set up separate searches and give different names to fields on the mobile. So, for example, think of a technician. When this technician opens their app in the field, we want them to see only his service calls for today, as opposed to the desktop where this functionality is not needed. And for example, let's say that on mobile, I want these service calls to be called tasks and not service calls. There are a lot more examples I can give you. I want to show this to you on our next slide, where I'll be taking a little view about another new mobile feature in this version. On our mobile solution, you can now build various business cases based on the same priority form and all in one app. For example, as you can see here on the screen, we have an app for field technicians that takes care of service calls. Based on the service call form in Priority, as you see here on the left, I can build one app, as you see here in the middle, and this app has different possibilities for taking care of service calls, depending on the business case I need at that same moment. So using the example from before, let's say I'm a technician. At the beginning of my shift, I enter to see which service calls I'm supposed to take care of today. As you can see here on the top, where it says My Service Calls. And there I can see all the data I need right now, who the customers are that I need to drive to today, what's their phone number, what's their address, and so on. I also have service calls that are preventative maintenance issues, as you can see here under where it says preventative maintenance. And these issues have everything that I need to take care of, like which spare parts I need, when was the last maintenance, and so on. And I can even call these maintenance issues and not service calls, because this terminology better suits the technician's needs in the field. And finally, as you see here on the bottom, before I go, I find out that this customer has another problem besides the one I came here to fix. And on the spot, I open a new service call with all the info that I need to enter. What's the malfunction description? Maybe I can attach a photo. Who's the person I'm supposed to transfer this call to if it's not me? So what we earned here is that the person in the field can continue to focus on their job and not bother themselves with searching for service calls or searching which fields they need to update, because each one of the views brings the user exactly what they need at that same moment, functionality-wise, search-wise, field name-wise, and all this is in a very easy and focused manner, all in one app. I'd like to say a few words about our new and updated mobile offering. After the Soft Solution acquisition, we received another app generator on top of our own priority app generator. So we combined the solutions and came out with an upgraded solution for Priority Mobile that has the strengths from all worlds. And the Soft Solution legacy generator will go into maintenance mode. So from now on, there are going to be 3 types of offerings for new customers instead of 2. The option you already know is here on the left, the ready-to-use apps. The advanced offering, which is the 2 on the right that include the application generator, will be made up of 2 types of offerings from now on, 1 basic and 1 premium. The basic package, the one in the middle, will include the basic functionality needed to work with apps, which is basically being able to work on priority using a mobile device and while leveraging the device's unique capabilities, like placing a call from the app, scanning a photo. The premium package on the right will include any additional functionality that a company may need, and this has to do mainly with processes that are designated to mobile use and don't exist on the desktop, such as multi-view functionality that we just went over and will be part of version 23.0, using a catalog view or signing on the mobile device. I'd like to talk also about some of our future plans for the premium package because they are associated with mobile needs only, and they are that we are planning to enhance the current sales solutions using catalog view. We're going to expand to purchase solutions using catalog view. We're going to add offline capabilities for certain work scenarios and support the graphic calendar view on mobile. Let's move on to some user experience. Most of you have probably already met our intelligent recommendations that have been recommending you to fit your workspace to your needs in the past versions. Maybe the system has already offered you to save one of your popular searches or to add a report that you frequently use to your homepage. So in this version, we enhanced the personalization solution, and now I'd like to introduce to you a new icon on the top part of the screens, which is this light bulb over here. Here in the Personalization Center, we're going to save all your recommendations for you, and you can go there anytime you wish in order to go over the recommendations and to continue to fit the system to your needs. Of course, this is on top of the already existing option to do it on the go while you work in the system. Another step towards fitting your workspace to your needs has to do with the More Details panel that you open when you want to get more details about a part, a supplier, or a customer. This panel that you see here on the right has been with us since the previous version. So in the example here, as you can see on the screen, we are in a sales order form. We want to get more details about this customer without zooming into the form in the system and coming back. In addition to all the existing details that you see here on the panel, in this version, we added the ability to receive smart recommendations about the data in the panel. So if, for example, you tend to zoom in from this form to the special prices for customers sublevel form, and it's not in your panel, we will recommend that you save this in your panel for easier and quicker reference in the future, as you can see here in the blue rectangle. Of course, on the top here, there is the settings button, and you can use it to customize the panel to your needs at any time. We're always enhancing our customers' experience and checking to see how we can help them do what they need as easily and quickly as possible. I'd like to tell you about one of these examples. There are organizations like the ones that have a store, for example, that opening customers for them is not a separate activity of its own. These organizations can now open customers with basic details such as address, phone number, directly out of the document that they are working on without having to zoom into the customer form, open a customer, and return to the document. You can see here on the screen, for example, how I am working on a sales order, for example. I look for the customer, I don't find them, so I press on this icon down here and I get this pop-up, which lets me quickly and easily open a customer by entering a few basic details, and then I can continue doing what I was doing before, which is continuing working on the sales order. Of course, this feature is not relevant for an organization that has advanced opening or advanced approval processes for customers, in which case they will continue to do what they're used to doing today. Let's move on to some ERP features, and let's start with some financial features. As you know, in every version, we support regulations and add functionality for our customers around the world. So in this version, for our European customers, we now allow generating the VAT by boxes report in a secondary currency, something that is aimed at assisting organizations that have business in two countries with different currencies. In Belgium, we added support for adding free text to tax codes that are displayed on all types of sales invoices. In Italy, we now support submitting into Strat on services, and for e-invoicing, we added stamp duty and reloading support. In the UK, we added the ability to make vendor payments using 3-day backs, using an integration with Finastra. In Angola, you can now generate 3 copies of invoices and receipts automatically. In Canada, we now display the PST and GST breakdown of purchase order printouts. We also support regulations and best practices in Israel too. Of course, at this point, I won't go into detail about the new regulatory features in Israel. In general, we are planning to add support for e-invoicing in additional countries around the world. We are going to help organizations implement recycling tax in Belgium more easily. We're planning an integration with a payroll software in the US. We will support reporting withholding tax in Italy by the name of Model 770. And finally, we will add the ability to export payment files via CAFT. Some of you may know this by other names, such as AFT, EFT, ITP. Priority Payments, which is our payment solution, continues to expand as more and more customers join. I'd like to tell you that we added support for Apple Pay as an additional means of payment in Click to Pay and in the payment portal. You can now clear payments with physical devices in Priority in Israel, and we now also support direct debit bank payments. In addition, it's now possible to partially pay invoices using Click to Pay and the payment portal. We have some new features in the perpetual inventory area as well, what's formerly known as COGS. In order to help companies achieve that their logistic account balance is equal to their financial account balance, we added controls that will prevent using inventory accounts that participate in perpetual inventory calculation for other purposes. In order to easily access the results of the perpetual inventory calculation and better understand how inventory transactions affect accounting, we added sublevel forms to various documents that show all the journal entries recorded per inventory document. You can now set a fixed standard cost for manufactured parts without the costing program recalculating the cost. This can be helpful, for example, if a manufacturing company wants to set a fixed cost for parts in the beginning of the year. In the next upcoming versions, we will continue to add value to our customers in this area of COGS, or perpetual inventory, as well. Organizations that post perpetual inventory using actual costs will be able to reopen final documents for editing. There will be a new option to set the cost for a return transaction according to the actual cost. This is in addition to the already existing options to set the return cost according to FIFO and moving average. In addition, for organizations that do assemblies and report costs that include work hours, those work hours will be reported to a separate account for work hours, and the material costs will continue to be reported to the material cost account. More financial features. So companies that work with government organizations in Israel can now upload invoices to the government portal using a priority issued digital signature, in addition to the ComSign digital signature that's already in place. We added support for recording realized gain or loss as a result of exchange rate adjustments. And as a part of the digitalization of the accounts payable process, where more and more organizations are using a wide array of solutions for digitally importing vendor invoices, so to allow a proper import, especially for vendor invoices with very long invoice numbers, like Amazon, for example, we expanded the character limit on a variety of fields in the system that need to store this data to 48 characters. In revenue recognition, we added support for something called BCO, balance carryover, which means that when this type of part is added to a contract obligation with a customer, it will not be included in the general calculation of the fair value allocation and will be recognized at its nominal value according to the record in the contract obligation. Also, you can now set the fair value allocation for contract obligations that are broken down into recognition components themselves. So for example, you can have the system automatically allocate fair value for a contract obligation line like software licenses, and afterwards divide the same fair value to other static components. For example, 75% licenses, 25% maintenance. In the upcoming versions, we're planning on adding a user walkthrough for end of the year and beginning of the year processes like opening and closing financial periods, numeration templates, and more. We're also going to enhance Priority's digital banking services to more banks in Israel, in addition to the Ben Leumi Bank and the Leumi Bank. Let's move on to the supply chain. So following the Soft Solutions acquisition, we added the WMS app generator to the WMS module in Priority, and this enables you to build WMS apps for your warehouse. In version 23.0, we continue to add more functionality to the generator. So now the generator comes equipped with a set of predefined, ready-to-use apps. Also, you can activate certain tasks in quick mode, which means that the user can go right to the task reporting, and we will take care of the rest behind the scenes. Of course, we continue to enhance the brain of the WMS in Priority, which is in charge of the wave creation. And in version 23.0, you can enjoy the ability to customize the put-away waves like you can do with the pick waves. We added more options to the pick waves to accommodate additional business scenarios, like being able to choose customer allocated inventory only, and more. We also supported organizations that need to refrain from storing certain types of parts in the same bin because they are dangerous materials, for example. In terms of future plans, we intend to allow multiple shipping lanes. And for organizations that use general tasks, like organizations, for example, that tend to verify their actions, we're going to enhance the existing general tasks with more functionality. In version 23.0, we continue to add planning functionality for our customers, both distributors and manufacturers. I won't go into everything, but I will point out a few main features. So I'm going to start here on the left. In this version, we put a spotlight for MRP for distributors. First of all, for companies that work with inventory forecasts, the system will now deduct sales orders and service calls from forecasts. This will help them avoid excess inventory and save money on purchasing and storage. Organizations that work with assemblies will now be able to benefit from a few things. The fact that MRP will consider safety stock for assembled parts. The system will also take into account purchase orders for assembly parts. This can be useful for companies that assemble certain parts and also order the same assembled parts from suppliers. The system will also take into consideration inventory of alternative parts. So for example, I will receive a recommendation to use alternative parts that I already have in the warehouse instead of asking me to assemble them. More enhancements include the ability to analyze the MRP results using dedicated forms and logs, and the ability to limit the planning period. We also continued to add functionality to MRP for manufacturers, as you see here on the right. Organizations that use BOMs and sell some of the parts separately will be able to decide if they want to deduct forecasts with sales orders only, or together with sales orders for their parent parts as well. So if, for example, there is a printer manufacturer that sells printers together with toners, but also sells the toners individually, they can now decide that sales orders for printers with toners won't deduct from the toner forecast. And we added the option to choose if MRP will consider both the forecast and the sales orders without deducting one from another. Looking forward, I can share that part of our plans include the ability to choose a BOM revision for a specific order line, and having MRP for distributors and manufacturers take customer blanket orders into consideration. As part of our strategy to allow our customers the flexibility they need to set up the system, especially for their needs, and without needing to rely on private developments, from now on, using a new form in the system, you will gain a full view of all the documents in the system that have text and all the text sources available. So, for example, the text in a purchase demand can come from the branch text, the purchase demand type, and the set text for purchase demands. In addition, you can also control the remarks that appear in the documents, and also the order in which they appear, and much more. As always, we continue to improve the way you use the system. We are on AWS now. A lot of what we do in respect to performance is not something usually that you can see with your eyes, but still we chose to tell you some of the things just that you can see them, that they're happening. First of all, to allow smooth and continuous workflow across the organization, we added the option to define that certain programs that you use can't be run simultaneously, whether for a single user or for all users. We also extended the option to refrain from generating documents in select all mode, and instead, users will have to choose values for parameter inputs and printouts. In certain cases, we added flexibility to change the length of time that temporary tables that were created when running programs but were not deleted are saved before they're deleted. And in the next upcoming versions, we're planning to improve the process of exporting data to Excel, including being able to export directly to Excel without having to go through a form query first. Aside from what we chose to show you on today's webinar, there are plenty of things that we do that are a result of feedback from the field, our customers and our partners. If we take a second to look at the big picture, I can tell you that in version 23.0, a total of 50 wanted functionality items from our customers were taken care of. You can see here on the bottom just a little glimpse of some of the things that you asked for and were developed. We added the ability to search in business rules and in BPM rules. You can now work with checklists for parts and customers and suppliers, just like you can do with price quotes and sales orders, for example. But what you should take from here is that your feedback matters, and continue sending us your feedback. Okay, so it's time to see which questions you asked and see what might be relevant for me to answer. So hold on for a second. Okay, first question here is about recording. Yes, if you leave your details here, then we will be able to send you a recording of today's session. Let me continue here. Okay, there's a question here about elaborating on the personalization center. Okay, so you probably know that the system has been giving you intelligent recommendations for a few versions by now. As you work in the system recommends to fit your workspace according to your specific needs. Now, what we did in version 23.0 is we centralized all those smart recommendations into one personalization center. So that light bulb I was talking about on the top part of the screen, if you go into that personalization center, you will be able to see all the recommendations that we have for you. You can go there anytime, and you can go over the recommendations and continue to fit the system to your needs. And this is, of course, on top of the already existing option to do it while you work in the system. So I see those are all the questions that we have for today that are relevant for everyone. I'd like to say thank you for being here today. I'm Nicole Lipper. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on our next webinar.